You are listening to Doug Thorpe's New Manager Forum. Sit back and enjoy this new message. Here's Doug.
Hi, everybody. This is Doug Thorpe. Today I am honored to have a guest, a young lady named Kristin Beale. I'm not going to do a lot of intro right at this moment. We're going to go kind of straight in. Welcome, Kristin. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. Kristin is a young lady with an amazing story that I'm going to have her share with you. Her story is one of overcoming obstacles. Kristin, take us to the starting point of where your life took a major detour and fill us in.
Okay. When I was 14 years old, about to turn 15, so about to start my sophomore year in high school, I went to Lake Gaston with my friend, with three of my other friends, and it was kind of the last weekend before sophomore year and before I turned 15, so before school started. And we went out on two jet skis. We had driver and passenger, and then I was a passenger on the other jet ski. And the driver of the other jet ski that I was not on wasn't paying attention, and he ran up on top of my jet ski with my driver, and the driver in front of me fell forward and died instantly. And I was turning around. Yes, I got hit, traumatic brain injury and spinal cord injury. And I fell into the water, and, that was in North Carolina. They thought I wasn't going to live, and they said I wasn't going to swallow or talk or, I was going to be a vegetable for the rest of my life. But then I kind of, I woke up, I lived, so I proved them wrong for that. I started talking. I went to MCV in Richmond, and then I started talking. I started breathing on my own, and I kind of just kept proving the doctors wrong for everything they said. Then they said, well, she's not going to have feeling or movement below her injury level, which is right above my belly button. And so I went to Children's Hospital in Richmond, and by the time I got out, I went straight to California for a month and a half to work out a Project Walk, and I came back and I could wiggle my toes, and I've been back 9 times, I believe, and I have a whole list of things I can move and feel, and it's been amazing. I graduated high school and college on my feet with a walker. I can crawl, I can all this other stuff.
Right. But even with some of the progress you've been able to make, it was a life-changing moment, correct?
Correct, in every way.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So how long was the initial recovery period?
How long did it take me, or how long did they say?
Yeah, before they kind of released you into the longer term, therapy and recovery process. How was that first period in the original hospital and so forth?
Let's see. I was in the hospital for 4 months total, and the recovery was, I think, 2 weeks, 20 visits to outpatient, because that's all insurance will pay for. So I had a very short, expecting get it done, learn how to transfer in and out of your chair, learn how to go up curbs if you need to. It was the rehab that I found in Virginia was this is how you live in a wheelchair, versus what I'm trying to do in California or other places I went was, this is how you get out of a wheelchair.
Okay.
So I had to ignore a lot of the doctor's advice, and I had to kind of fight again. I had to kind of be my own advocate for getting out of my chair. I had to kind of fight against a couple of people, but it was a lot of, ignoring doctor's advice, because everyone kind of said, you can't do this. You can't move or feel below your injury level. You're done. You're in a wheelchair for the rest of your life. But then I came back from California and I could wiggle my toes. They're like, oh, I don't know what's wrong. So I don't know. I haven't really paid attention to doctor's prognosis for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So that sounds like that was kind of step one, is mustering your own fortitude and your own definition of the future to make that change, right?
it's been very much of my parents. Before I was conscious, I became conscious my accident was in August, and I became conscious around Halloween time.
Oh, wow.
And so, in September, August or September, when they told my parents that I wasn't going to be able to walk or feel, a list of other things, they immediately went online and looked at alternatives for a wheelchair for not being able to walk. So by the time I woke up, they already had a plan, and they had all the stuff that they, like, this is what the doctors say, but this is what we can do. So it was very much of, my parents were huge because they just kind of never gave up on it. So that's a big thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a very good teaching point here, a very good conclusion. The idea that a support network didn't give up on you, and they were ready to move forward, make a plan, get a more positive outcome, right?
Yeah, correct. That was huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if I woke up and someone told me that, then I would be, heartbroken, but also, I don't know how I would have handled that. I don't think nearly as well as they would have. So it's good to have them right next to me.
Right. So I read in some of your material in the early going, there was a little trouble with short-term memory. Is that right?
Yes. Let's see. Again, accident was in August, and I woke up like I was out of my coma in probably like late September, early October. But my memory started to retain, like I started to remember things around Halloween time. So there was a lot of time. I'm reading my dad's journal entries. He kept a Caring Bridge journal while I was in the hospital. So I'm reading a lot of it as I'm just writing and reading. And it's weird because there's all these things that I said and that I did, and I have no memory of them at all. And I'm reading about like, oh, that's, cool. That sounds like something I would do.
I hope you were kind to friends and family with your comments.
I had a few rude moments. I had a few, I promise, I wouldn't have said that if I was all there, but you'll have to excuse me because I said a few rude things, and my parents had to kind of apologize for me a couple times. But
Sure.
It wasn't so bad.
Yeah, there you go. So you mentioned going to a treatment facility in California. How did you land on that as a destination, and what was the focus there?
Well, I got out of the hospital in December, and 2 weeks out of the hospital, I was on the plane to California, to Carlsbad, California, to a place called Project Walk. And that was 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, very intense. It's working out your lower body as opposed to your upper body. It's the whole mind-body connection deal that's so important that I learned about so much. Kind of going through the motions, but also while this trainer is, for example, kicking my leg, I'm thinking about doing it, and I'm getting sensations in my mind, and it seems very passive, but it has a big impact. So I did that. I went back to Project Walk 2 times, I believe. I went every chance I would get in the summer and winter break and everything. And then I found a place called Awakenings, which I liked more. The very first day that I went there, they taught me how to crawl. And I'd been to Project Walk for two times and I hadn't crawled yet, but the very first time I went to Awakenings, I learned how to crawl, and it was just amazing. And that's where I got my most return back. So I went back there 7 times.
Wow. Okay.
So California, when I was in high school and college, I said, I'm going to move here as soon as I graduate college. And then I graduated. I'm like, shoot, now it's so far away, and it's so expensive, and it's so far away. I don't want to actually move there, but it's a good place to go.
Yeah.
Go somewhere. Yeah.
Sure. So as you began processing what your life forward was going to be, what was a little bit of the thought process you were going through?
People ask me that if I woke up and when I realized that I was paralyzed, if I was angry, and if I was, angry at the people and angry at my situation. But by the time I started to get my memory back, I had so much to do and so much to kind of live up to. in terms of just like people watching. Just my community was so plugged into what I was doing, and people watching me, and people, watching me. And then that I never really had a chance to be angry, and I never really had a chance to grieve as much as you would expect, which is a good thing, because it's kind of not a waste of time, but it's just taking away from the time that I could. Being angry about something is kind of a waste of time, because it's taking away from the time that I could use for myself to get myself better. And it's better to just focus all my energy on, this is where I am and it sucks, but this is what I need to do to get out of it, and I'm going to work as hard as I can. So waking up, like my very first moments when I realized that I'm paralyzed and that everything kind of sat in. I was told everything. I don't have memory of that, because that was before my short-term memory came back. So I don't really remember my first moments, but as far as I can remember, I just kind of jumped into it. I didn't waste time with being angry or anything.
Yeah. Now, you were a pretty active young lady before the accident with your sports and other school activities, and my understanding is you've resumed a whole lot of activity. What are some of the things you're involved in now?
Well, I've done 7 marathons.
Wow.
7 marathons and a hand cycle, which is like a bike with three wheels, and you pedal with your arms. I've tried adaptive lacrosse, adaptive surfing in California, adaptive tennis, I think I've tried. Yeah, I tried that one time. But hand cycling is really, hand cycling and working out are kind of my sports, because working out has become, fun now, because it's just, before I got in the hospital, I was a competition cheerleader. I did field hockey and lacrosse. So having an accident that kind of takes that all away from you is a big blow, because I'm so used to being active. So I had to find something, and working out was the first thing that I found. And then 2011 was my first marathon in New York, and then ever since then, it's an addiction. Every chance I get, I do a marathon. So it's been it's cool to have something that I can do, and that people can look at me and be impressed and be, that's like, she's doing something that I can't do, when usually they're saying, oh, like, this girl's in a wheelchair, and they might be feeling pity for me, and they, and there's not really anything that I can do that they can't do. But to be able to do a marathon, I'm kind of putting myself, it's cool to have something that people can say, wow, she's better than I thought. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But it's been really great.
That's great. So is there any particular organization you're aligned with now, or part of, or spokesman for, or anything like that?
I started my first New York Marathon in 2011 was my first marathon, and I did that through Achilles International, which is kind of an organization that's branched off of Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation. Mm-hmm. And so I've done, of my 9, I've probably done like 6 through them. They were awesome. They put me and my family, or I guess just me, into a hotel in Times Square, like in the middle of New York, like an awesome, right. It was awesome. And they do, my favorite marathon is a Marine Corps marathon in Arlington in November. And that's another Achilles one. And they, pay for everything, and they really treat you great. And they kind of gave me the opportunity to find out something that I love, which is hand cycling, but they were really the people that got me there. So that organization really means a lot to me.
Well, that's great. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after this message.
Hi guys, Doug Thorpe here. I want to tell you about my new book, The Uncommon Commodity. I call it the Common Sense Guide for New Managers. I wrote this thing with the intent of helping new first-time managers really make a difference right where they are. Most of the time you get thrown into that job, you're not used to being in management, and boy is it different when you're not the doer anymore, but now you're the leader of the team. It's no longer about you, but it's about them. Hey, this book has been on the shelf since July. And I'm really happy. I feel blessed with the reception I'm getting in the marketplace. Reviews are coming in. It's been a real privilege to watch it grow. and hear what people are saying. There's an interesting twist here I'm going to throw in, a little spoiler alert. A lot of seasoned managers are reading it and they're going, wow, I either forgot that or I need to remember that or I need to learn that. So it really hits a broader audience. I want to encourage you to take a look. Again, it's called The Uncommon Commodity, and it's available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble Nook, and on iBooks. So take a read and leave me a comment if you will. I would appreciate it. Now, back to our show.
We're back today. I'm talking with Kristin Beale, an amazing young lady who had a life-changing event. She has recovered from what was originally thought to be some permanent paralysis in her lower body, and is now a very active young woman living in the Virginia area. Kristin, I want to kind of shift gears a minute. Let's talk about your faith story. I understand that you and your family are people that have a very strong faith, and that's a big dimension of your story and your recovery. Can you share with me a little bit about that?
Yes. Well, to start off, I wasn't supposed to be alive. I had a laundry list of things that I wasn't supposed to be able to do that I can do, like talk and comprehend. And so that was my first miracle, one of my first miracles, that I am alive and that I made it through all my injuries and that I'm here. So that was probably the biggest thing. But since my accident, I've had an incredible community. I've had support from my community. I've been able to use my story of tragedy and heartbreaking story, but I've been able to use it as a testament to my faith and what God can do, and just that He can bring me from lying in a hospital bed, learning how to tie my shoes at age 14, to 26 years old, owning my own, building and owning my own house with, a dog and my own house, being my own independent person. And it's just been amazing how much peace I've had throughout this whole process, because I have kind of my eyes set on something greater, just like a bigger purpose for my life and my story. And that's been, it's been enough to just sail me through this relatively smoothly.
Yeah. I think as anyone who professes a faith and an abiding understanding of a powerful God, there are probably moments when things aren't looking so good. So we all had those moments. Walk me through some of yours, if you would. Actually,
I just went through a little bit of a moment there, and it's it was very challenging for me, because I just went through a whole wound in hospital and just a challenging time. And it's enough to make, that time, that bad time I just had, and then everything that's happened to me now, and it's kind of, why is bad stuff still happening to me, and why is, I try not to slip into a why me mentality, but it's hard because I'm a human being. But I'm kind of just why is this, whatever, why is this happening to me? But then my dad reminds me of the story of Job and how he was going through all these different tests and trials and all that stuff. And it was just God testing him and testing his faith and going through all that. So I've definitely had challenging moments, where I start questioning and feeling bad for myself, but it never really lasts long, because being in the community, in the disabled community with everywhere that I've been and just my connections, it's hard to justify my own pity, I guess, feeling bad for myself. Because when I was in California, I was working out, 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, as hard as I possibly can to get sensation back in my legs or to crawl. But I'm laying right on the mat next to me is somebody who's working just as hard as I am to move their finger. And that's something that I do without thinking, but they are working as hard as they possibly can. Their goals are to just move their finger. And I'm like, well, I can do that fine. So it puts everything in perspective, and it really humbles you to see people that are worse off than you And then so I think, I have the best of my situation.
Being able to count the blessings that are still there, even in the face of things that are otherwise complicated, right?
Yeah, correct.
What is next for Kristin Beale?
Well, I've just finished a book. I wrote a book about my whole journey, starting from the weekend before my accident until, pretty present day, like 2014 or somewhere around there. And so that's my biggest project right now. My book is telling about things like cool things that I've done, like adaptive surfing and New York Marathon and just the cool stuff I've done. But it's also, more importantly, I guess, it also gives perspective onto, I guess, people that are otherwise in the dark. So things that you would never think about, like things that you would never think about to be a challenge or to be a problem or being something that bothers me are in the book. So it's cool because it really gives insight onto another group of people. So I'm working on getting that published right now. I'm still looking for a publisher and trying, it's a very long process, but
Sure.
exciting.
Yeah, great. You have a working title for the book?
Greater Things is the title.
Okay. And do you have a blog that you're hosting or doing anything with?
Well, you can go to KristinBeale.com, and I have some excerpts that you can read from there. And also, you can sign up to get an email when it's actually in public and when it's actually ready to be bought when it's published.
Okay.
KristinBeale.com, Kristin with an I.
Oh, that's great. All right. Well, I think that just about wraps it up for today. Kristin, it's been a pleasure and a blessing to visit with you and talk to you. If you want to know more about Kristin's story, as she said, go to her blog at KristinBeale.com. The link is going to show on the screen below. And we'll all anxiously await the release of your book, Kristin, and look forward to seeing that. I thank you for being here today, and good talking to you.
Thank you.
All right.
You have been listening to Doug Thorpe's New Manager Forum. Visit our website at dougthorpe.com. Leave a comment or ask a question. We'll see you in the next episode.